Keith Blakely is with NanoMech, and earlier this week we got invited to the Nanotech Center here at UALR, and the PhD behind a computer screen asked me and the people I was with said, "Do you see the nanoparticles?" And I said, "No." I mean, I don't know what I'm looking at, but thanks to Mildred Holly for setting that up, I feel somewhat more educated at this point. But Keith Blakely is here to tell us about NanoMech, and it's an additive and coating product, a nano additive and coating product, and he was recently brought in as the CEO, so I'll turn it over to Keith. Thanks, Keith.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Ted. Thank you to the organizers, and thank you for sticking around this afternoon. You know what they say about the last come first, I guess. This has been a terrific meeting. Like many of you, I'm not just a businessman or a CEO, I'm also an investor. I mentor a number of entrepreneurs, and it's been said about me that I've never met a technology I didn't like. I saw a lot today that I liked, but the reason that this native New Yorker is here in Arkansas and excited to be in Arkansas has to do with the company that I'm going to talk to you about, NanoMech, which many of you have heard about before. NanoMech spun out of the University of Arkansas back in 2002 based on some technology that had been developed by our CTO and founder, Dr. A.J. Malshi. A.J. is a brilliant guy. A very creative, very high energy sort of guy. In fact, my biggest problem, quite honestly, is managing all of the great ideas that AJ brings to the office just about every morning and making sure that he stays focused on the things that I know and others know will make us money. You met the other part of our team this morning. Jim Phillips was the wake-up guy, the breakfast speaker. Jim has an incredible entrepreneurial background. And it's just been an absolute delight to be working with Jim pretty much 24/7 since December when I joined the company. Very quickly on my background, I've been in the advanced materials business for all of 20 plus years, actually 30 plus years. You can probably tell by the lack of gray hair, but my background has always been in early stage technology to product commercialization. That's what I do. The so-called valley of death apparently is something that I like being in, and I've done that several times before. And when I met AJ, even though the company had been around for a number of years and had garnered national recognition, lots of awards, lots of research contracts, it was clear that they were still kind of trying to find their way towards the commercial marketplace. I met Jim. Jim had joined the company as an investor and as chairman prior to my arrival. Jim had done this before. He saw the signs, knew that there was a need for leadership to take this forward, and convinced me, and after meeting the rest of the team, I became convinced that this was one of the most exciting advanced materials companies that I would have an opportunity to be associated with. So I joined the company last year, and if you've heard about NanoMech before and you think you know a little bit about it, I'm just going to tell you that you ain't seen nothing yet. I'm going to start with what it is that the company is trying to do. What's the problem or problems? We hear that as a nation we're losing our competitive edge in terms of manufacturing. We're becoming a service nation. About 4 months ago, I was fortunate enough to be asked to join, and NanoMech has joined the U.S. Council on Competitiveness, a group of basically executives from Fortune 100 companies, university presidents, and heads of the national laboratories, who are all focused on the United States retaining its competitive advantage, particularly in the areas of manufacturing. And as you see here, there are several problems. We're focused on two. In the manufacturing area, inefficient machining operations, inefficient tool life, short tool life. there are a number of things that lead to higher labor costs in U.S. produced goods than is probably necessary, and we're going to talk about a product that addresses that head on. In machinery, wear and friction accounts for about 5 to 7% loss of our gross domestic product. In material losses and energy losses, if you do the math, that's $800 billion a year, so it's a sizable market. And small incremental improvements in that market are of interest to almost every industrial company in the United States. I'm going to talk to you about some big improvements that become disruptive in both of these spaces. So let me start with NanoGlide. First of all, what does it do? NanoGlide is an additive. It's a material that's been formulated and synthesized down near the atomic level. That's what nanotechnology is all about, the ability to manipulate and manufacture materials to do very unusual things because of the size and the purity that you're able to obtain. What NanoGlide does at a very low concentration in oils and greases is reduces friction rather substantially. Most engine manufacturers would kill to improve the efficiency of their engines by about 5%. NanoGlide has been shown in others' laboratories to reduce the coefficient of friction and what's called wear scarring by 30 to 50%. That translates directly into energy savings, into greater durability in manufactured goods, into longer lifetime, all kinds of benefits. And we're talking about sizable markets. We've been focused initially on a couple of markets, including automotive applications, heavy machinery, where you've got lots of stresses, and one that's been in the news quite a bit, which is the wind turbine industry, where gearbox failures are probably the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about, but which are really impacting the economics of wind turbine power generation. And NanoMech as a company has utilized a series of government contracts from the National Science Foundation, from the Department of Energy, and the Department of Defense to develop the data set that companies like Caterpillar, General Electric, Champion, and others are looking at and recognizing that this is a must-have product for them in their lubrication oils and greases. So as a result, we've now created the tools that we need to get the interest of the commercial community. We're already working with the laboratories and with the end users at these industrial companies, and the commercial launch for this is imminent. We've already begun to scale it up in our Springdale facility. We already have contracts with these particular companies and others, and the biggest problem for us is going to be when General Electric calls up ExxonMobil and says, we've now decided that you guys have to have NanoGlide in your formulation. That's a problem we're looking forward to. The other product that I want to talk about is ToughTech. Now this addresses the issue with competitiveness and efficiency in machining operations, and almost everything that you see around you has been machined at one point or another in its manufacturing. The ToughTech coating represents the next generation of advanced coatings. Now coatings have been around on machine tools, drills, routers, inserts, a number of things that cut, grind, and remove materials for a long time. Coatings have probably been developed over, I would say, the last 25 to 30 years. And quite honestly, the cutting tool industry kind of felt in the last 2 or 3 years that those coatings had reached their limitation. Well, NanoMech a year and a half ago introduced ToughTech and basically turned that world upside down. What you see in this chart, the red line represents what is considered state-of-the-art for cutting tool performance, and you see that it's 4 minutes in duration. The blue line was a ToughTech coated tool, same geometry, same application, same cutting conditions, and it lasted over 45 minutes. We're seeing increases of 300 to 1,000% in tool life, which means better labor utilization, better efficiency of the machinery, reduced insert costs, on and on and on. These are value propositions that are driving people like Honda, Black & Decker, Detroit Diesel, and others to use this material. And the market that we're going after is about $20 billion in scope, and the potential for ToughTech in those applications at this point in time appears to be unlimited. So our strategy is to monetize these two products, these two capabilities and technologies at three different levels. The first is at the technology level. We can license our competitors to utilize these materials and let them formulate their own products and services with our technology. We can sell them the materials that they will use to manufacture it or that value-added people in the supply chain are using. But right now what we're doing is we're going to the end users, we're supplying products, fully formulated oils and greases, coated cutting tool inserts, and creating the market demand that will pull the rest of those monetization strategies forward. And the growth that will come from doing that is rather substantial. Last year, the company only did about $600,000 in revenue, all research contracts. This year, we're on track for about $2 million. Again, mostly research and development demonstration contracts. Next year, we're looking at some very explosive growth. As we start to sign these joint development supply agreements with major companies like Black & Decker, GE, and others, we're seeing revenue projections that will take us fairly substantially towards $100 million in each of the first two products over the next 3 to 4 years. The other nice thing about this is the value propositions are such that these products will not be commoditized. We have strong patent protection from the original work that was done at the University of Arkansas. We can prevent encroachment by others. We can basically price these materials as per the value that they provide the customer. If you're buying a cutting tool at $15 to $20 and now I'm going to replace 5 of those, I can add a few dollars to your cutting tool and you're going to be a happy camper. So we look at contribution margins in our business model of 55 to 70%. Those should be sustainable over a fair period of time, I would say at least the next 4 to 5 years, driving EBITDA numbers of 20% by 2013. Right now we're raising $4.5 million for expansion purposes to address the commercial demand that we've been talking about, a little bit of expansion in the sales and marketing arena as well, and we will take this company to profitability next year. In terms of exit strategy, it's the list of usual suspects. Possible acquisition of product lines or business units by major corporate partners. These are discrete kinds of products and market segments. We can sell them off individually. There's a possibility that a diversified company like a General Electric would look at the breadth of this and be interested in acquiring the company. And of course, we've already been contacted by investment bankers and equity sources about what time we'd be ready for an IPO. But I look at this as a kind of evergreen opportunity. As this company is able to monetize different product lines or business units, it can distribute that to its shareholders, feed a fair amount back in, because it's got a pipeline of at least 10 more products that I don't have time to talk about that can grow to these kinds of substantial revenue and profit lines in the not too distant future as well. And with that, I will thank you.